November 5th, 1930 was a cold day. I was 23 years old. There was a light snow on the ground as we walked into the mine. It was cold, but it was a clear day. The sun was shining, bouncing off the snow and breaking into tiny slivers. I worked for the Sunday Creek Coal Company in mine number 6. I was a loader, filling car after car up with coal to be hauled up and out of the mine. They told us to look sharp that day, as some of the executives from Sunday Creek were coming by to inspect us.
On November 30th, my brother left at 5 a.m. just like he did every day. I made him a sandwich from some cucumber and roast beef left over from the night before. And just as he did every day, he gave me a kiss on my cheek and wished me luck with my basket sales.
We had no warning of an explosion. I was picking up a shovel full of coal when I felt this great pressure build in my ears. It was as if someone had picked me up and thrown me 50 feet underwater. But before I had time to react, the pressure lifted. We didn't hear an explosion. All that could be heard was the sound of air rushing into our ears. The shockwave picked me up and flung me into a side wall. I felt a pinch in my back before the blackness overwhelmed me.
I heard about the explosion half an hour after it happened. My thoughts went immediately to John. A prayer for him escaped my lips. I called our brothers Frank and Stanley, and we hurried down to the mine.
I woke up, and pain flared through my entire body. My head pounded, and my hands felt wet and sticky. I could hear men shouting, and suddenly there was a face right in front of mine. It was Virgil Willis, a good friend of mine. He had blood running down his face. John Nadrowski, he shouted. Are you okay? I groaned. I don't know, I said. He looked me over. When he got to my stomach, he grimaced. Looked like he was gonna vomit. What? I asked. I looked down and my entire body tightened. A wedge, something that we used to break up rocks and coal, was growing from my stomach. It had gone through my back and pushed everything up and outward. Oh God, was all Virgil could say. Oh God, oh God, oh God.
Waiting outside the mine was torture. Men had immediately started digging, trying to get in through the collapsed entrance. Some women were crying, and some were setting up sheets and blankets, hoping that some of the men in the mine had survived.
Virgil stayed beside me, going away only every once in a while to check in. About 2 hours after the explosion, he came back. John, he said, the air's tainted. Men are dying, John. I could feel it too. The lower half of my body had stopped working, but I could feel it in my lungs. They were working harder and accomplishing less. Virgil took my hand.
They finally broke through into the mine. When they started pulling out the bodies, I went numb. Men that were barely recognizable as men. There were bones showing, and blood and gore everywhere. And I had to look at each one, scrutinize him, try to see past the blood, in case one of them was John.
Virgil died first. He panicked and started taking in huge gulps of air. I tried to calm him down, but he couldn't listen. He just kept gulping down methane until there wasn't a drop of oxygen left in his lungs. He died clutching my hand, with fear permanently etched on his features. I could feel myself leaving, too. The spike through my stomach didn't really hurt, but I was aware of its presence. My breaths got shallower and shallower, and I started to feel lightheaded. I died just as I heard new voices calling in the mine.
When they brought John's body up, I wouldn't believe that it was him. There was blood on his face and on his hands. The middle part of his body was barely holding together. They brought he and Virgil up together. I brushed the hair out of his face and kissed his cold cheek. I could smell the coal and the gas that permeated his skin. Frank and Stan just stared unflinchingly at him. Tears didn't come to me. I just stood there, watching them pull body after body up out of the mine. 82 all told. 19 miners weren't accounted for until they found them 9 hours later, about 3 miles from the mine entrance. They had followed the clean air.
November 5th, 1930 was a cold day.
We buried John in Millfield. He was 23 years old.
They read a poem at Virgil's funeral. I'd like to share a bit of it with you. With little to suffer, little to know, only a moment of death.
A dream of a fleeting night, and then the beautiful break of day, and the quiet peace of night.
And you find yourself where you long to stand.